Hey guys, I'm here today to show you how to make your own pickles or how to pickle your own vegetables. Go over the ingredients real quick. You're going to need 2 quarts of water, 1 quart of white vinegar, 1 quart of apple cider vinegar, 3/4 of a cup of pickling salt. That's going to be a little bit different than your normal salt. Ball sells it. Comes in a package like this. It's specifically for pickling. Your normal salt might have iodine in it or some other clumping agents. If you try to use it, your jars won't turn out quite as nice. You'll need 3 heads of fresh dill per jar, per quart, about 3 garlic cloves per jar or per quart, 1 habanero, that's optional if you want heat. I recommend de-seeding it. You can use 1/2 tablespoon of Pickle Crisp granules, also made by Ball, also available on Amazon. It basically, you just add it to each jar to make your pickles a little bit crispier, or vegetables a little bit crispier if they're kind of far gone or ripe. And then you'll need 3 tablespoons of pickling spice. You can look up recipes online about how to make your own, but it has about 10 different ingredients, which is kind of complicated. So what I did was I went to Whole Foods or Central Market, both sell it. I think Central Market has it for a little bit cheaper. Whole Foods, it was in the aisle with all the nuts and little drop-down menus. So what you're going to do is everything with a star by it, you're basically going to put into a big pot and boil it for 15 minutes. The basic option or caveat here is the pickling spice. What I like to do is I take my 3 tablespoons and basically make a little tea bag out of it. You can just use a paper towel with a little piece of butcher's twine here, and then drop it into the liquid. Wait 15 minutes after it boils, and that's perfect. Alright, so real quick on how to make the brine. Very simple. If you use 1 quart jars, it makes it even easier because pretty much fill it to the top and it's all done for you. So we're going to start with 2 quarts of water. One quart of white vinegar. And this container is a 1 quart container of apple cider vinegar. Okay. Finally, you're going to take your pickling spice pouch and just go ahead and dunk it in there. I've had it open up while it's boiling, and I've had it stay completely sealed while it's boiling. I don't think it really has a difference either way. Just when you go to can, try not to scoop too much of the pickling spice out with the brine. And we're going to turn that on a high heat. And once that gets boiling, we're going to start a 15-minute timer. Once you get all the water, vinegar, and pickling spice in your brine, don't forget to add your salt. Again, it'll be about 3/4 of a cup of pickling salt. Once the salt's in and the water's starting to heat up, go ahead and mix it up a little bit. And continue to let it boil for that 15 minutes. Okay, while we have the brine cooking, we can go ahead and start getting some of our jars ready. So what I've done is basically prepared all my vegetables, so I can just sort of get all my quarts ready, so when the brine is here, we'll be good to go. So we'll start by putting a couple of dill heads into each jar. Okay. Alright. And we'll put a few cloves of garlic in each jar. The actual brine knocks down a lot of the garlic bitterness, and it actually turns out really nice. You can actually eat full cloves of garlic without any trouble. Tastes very good. The texture is real good. So we'll go ahead and distribute the garlic between these. And then it's basically a matter of preference. Obviously cucumbers turn out to something we all know, pickles. So we definitely like to keep jars of those on hand. You basically just try to get as many in there as you can, because the fuller your jars are, the farther you can spread your brine. So it looks like we're going to get a couple jars out of these pickles. Okay, so that one's not quite full, so you can kind of mix and match. You'll get some blending of flavors, but it's mostly a texture thing. What we turned out to find was radishes actually turn out very well. You can only eat so many raw radishes and garnishes and that sort of thing, but pickling radishes, you can eat a whole jar of these, no problem. So that jar is pretty full. Okay, we've got some squash here. It kind of just absorbs a lot of the pickling flavor. It doesn't have a whole lot of flavor of its own. And then it turns out a little bit softer than the cucumbers. So when I'm doing squash, I would definitely recommend using the crisp granules on any squash you might decide to do. Okay, I've got some okra. And then got a big old bag of green beans we can just kind of fill in. So with green beans, I like a little bit of heat with my green beans, not so much my pickles. So I basically have just a piece of seeded habanero that you can just throw in there. And we can try some jalapenos. Mix those with some green beans. Put the rest of the squash in there. And we'll just fill this last one up with a habanero and some green beans. Just be careful not to touch your face after you've been handling these habaneros. So pretty much any container that has squash in it, I'll add a teaspoon of the crisp, or probably a quarter teaspoon. You don't really need this on most things. It just kind of helps with texture. Okay. And that's pretty much it. We're just going to be waiting on our brine right about now. Alright, so the brine's had 15 minutes of boiling. We're kind of in luck. The tea bag didn't break, so I don't have all those little granules to deal with. Now it's just a simple matter of getting the brine into the jar. If you do happen to have a bag that breaks, you're going to have all these little granules floating around in there. So using a funnel might be tricky because the granules tend to stick in the end of the funnel, making it blocked. A good buddy of mine had the great idea to basically cut the bottom off a red Solo cup to kind of make your own little homemade funnel with a wide mouth. They do sell funnels specifically for jarring. I just don't happen to have one at the moment. So we'll just fill up a couple of these. Real simple, just try not to burn yourself here. Use a ladle if you got one. The nice thing about this method of jarring is it's very easy. You don't have to boil the jars or anything like that after the fact. And it definitely lengthens the shelf life of your vegetables. We have a small garden and basically we get all our vegetables at the same time. And I don't know about you, but I can't eat 300 radishes in a week. So if you pickle them and refrigerate them, they'll definitely last several months. That being said, because you don't process it, they're not what we call shelf stable. So you basically always have to refrigerate them. So just always keep them in the fridge. But I don't see why you couldn't have these for several months before they went bad, if they ever went bad. So that's pretty full there. You want to keep a little head spacing, meaning not filling the brine all the way to the tip top, but just do the best you can. I'm not going to make you watch all the rest of them, but it's just a similar process. Once you have it filled to the top, just take a lid and seal it off. I would recommend letting it sit probably for an hour like that, because it's boiling hot liquid, obviously. It'll help kill all the germs inside the jar. But you're going to want to let these sit in your fridge for a few days before you go ahead and eat them. I think about a week is probably the perfect time to where everything's pretty much had a chance to absorb the brine. So this is our finished product. The brine basically filled 6 quart jars to the top just about perfectly after we had everything in there. If you do end up with less brine in the last jar, I've added water to it in the past and it turned out just fine. Thank you for watching my video. I just want to take a second to thank a couple people. I'd just like to thank Jared Jensen. This is his recipe, which he's allowed me to share with you guys free of charge. And I'd also like to thank my wife, Lacey, for helping me grow the vegetables in our garden. Thanks very much. Y'all